I've always considered myself a skeptic. Ghosts, demons, monsters. They were all figments of human imagination, crafted to explain the unexplainable or to scare children into obedience. But now, as I sit in this dimly lit room, clutching the last remnants of my sanity, I wonder if my disbelief was my undoing. It started a month ago, innocently enough. I moved to a small apartment on the edge of the city, seeking solitude to focus on my writing. The building was old, with creaky wooden floors and walls thin enough to hear your neighbor's every move. But the rent was cheap, and the isolation suited me. The first dream came on my third night there. I remember it vividly. A dark forest, the trees bare and skeletal, their branches clawing at the starless sky. The air was cold and heavy, and the silence was suffocating. I wandered through the forest, my footsteps crunching on the brittle leaves. When I saw it, it stood at the edge of the clearing, half hidden by the shadows. Its body was a grotesque amalgamation of twisted limbs and decaying flesh, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. It didn't move, didn't speak. It simply stood there watching me. I woke up drenched in sweat, my heart racing. The dream lingered in my mind throughout the day, its vividness unsettling. But I brushed it off, convinced it was just a figment of my overactive imagination. The next night, the dream returned. This time, the monster was closer. Its grotesque form emerged from the shadows, and I could see every detail. The patches of rotting skin, the jagged teeth that filled its gaping maw, the way its long clawed fingers twitched as though eager to grab me. I tried to run, but my legs felt like lead. The monster didn't move, but its gaze pinned me in place, filling me with an overwhelming sense of dread. I woke up gasping for air, my chest tight with fear. Over the next week, the dreams grew more intense. The forest became darker, the air colder, and the monster always crept closer. It never spoke, never attacked, but its presence was suffocating. I couldn't escape its gaze, and each time I woke up, I felt a little more drained, as though the monster was leeching something vital from me. I stopped sleeping. The mere thought of closing my eyes and returning to that nightmare filled me with terror. But no matter how long I stayed awake, exhaustion always won, and when I finally succumbed to sleep, the monster was there, waiting. One night I decided to confront it. I was tired of running, tired of waking up in fear. When the dream began, I walked toward the monster instead of away from it. Its glowing eyes followed me as I approached, its claws twitching. "What do you want from me?" I demanded, my voice trembling. For the first time, the monster moved. It tilted its head, a slow, deliberate motion, and then it spoke. "You," it hissed, its voice a guttural rasp that echoed through the forest. "You invited me." I woke up screaming, the monster's words ringing in my ears. I had never invited it, at least not consciously. But its claim planted a seed of doubt in my mind. Had I done something to summon it? I spent the next day researching dreams and their meanings. Most articles dismissed recurring nightmares as the result of stress or unresolved trauma. But a few delved into darker territory, entities that feed on fear, spirits that invade dreams to torment the living. One article mentioned a phenomenon called dream leeching, where malevolent entities enter dreams to drain the victim's life force. I tried to convince myself it was nonsense, but deep down I couldn't shake the feeling that the monster was real. That night I tried not to sleep. I drank cup after cup of coffee, paced the room, even slapped myself to stay awake. But around 3 a.m., I collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion finally overtaking me. When I opened my eyes, I was in the forest again. The monster was closer than ever, its rotting face mere inches from mine. I could smell its decay, feel the icy cold radiating from its body. Its glowing eyes bored into me, and I felt a surge of terror so intense I couldn't breathe. "You can't escape," it rasped. "You brought me here, and now I'll never leave." I woke up in tears, my body shaking. The monster's words felt like a curse, an inescapable doom. The days blurred together after that. I barely ate, barely left the apartment. My world shrank to the size of my nightmares, and the monster consumed my every waking thought. One night I noticed something strange. As I sat in the living room staring at the blank wall, I saw a shadow move in the corner of my vision. I turned, but nothing was there. At first I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me, but the shadows grew bolder, darting across the room, lingering at the edges of my sight. And then I heard it, the monster's voice, whispering my name. It was no longer confined to my dreams. I tried to leave the apartment, but the moment I stepped outside, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over me. It felt as though the world beyond the door was wrong, distorted. I stumbled back inside, gasping for air, and the shadows seemed to mock me, their movements more erratic. I realized I was trapped. The monster had claimed not just my dreams, but my reality as well. Desperate, I turned to the internet again, searching for anything that could help me. I found forums where people shared their experiences with dream entities, and one post caught my eye. It described a ritual to banish malevolent beings. A last resort, the poster warned, as it could have unintended consequences. I didn't care about the risks. I just wanted the nightmare to end. That night, I followed the ritual's instructions. I lit candles around the apartment, drew protective symbols on the walls, and recited the incantation. The air grew heavy, the flames flickering wildly. And then the monster appeared. It emerged from the shadows, its grotesque form towering over me. The glowing eyes burned with fury, and its voice shook the room. "You think you can banish me?" it roared. "You are mine, and you always will be." The candles extinguished, plunging the room into darkness. The monster lunged at me, and I screamed as its claws raked across my chest. Pain exploded through me, and the world went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in the forest again. But this time I wasn't alone. Dozens of people surrounded me, their faces pale and gaunt. They looked like shadows of themselves, their eyes hollow and lifeless. One of them stepped forward, a young woman with long dark hair. "You tried to fight it, didn't you?" she said softly. I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "What is it? What does it want?" "It's a dream leech," she replied. "It feeds on fear, on despair. It traps people in their dreams, feeding off them until there's nothing left." "Is there a way to escape?" I asked, my voice trembling. She shook her head. "No one escapes. Once it has you, you're part of it forever." I looked around at the other people, their faces filled with sorrow. They were all prisoners of the monster, their lives stolen by its insatiable hunger. And then I saw my reflection in the woman's eyes. My face was pale, my eyes hollow, just like hers. I realized the truth. I wasn't in the forest anymore. I was inside the monster. And I would never wake up again.